Hello Internet, welcome back or hello for the first time. Now a few things I must start off with is that I hope the quality of this video is better this time. I have to play on my laptop just for TF2 to run better, which my laptop has problems of its own. My up arrow key is broken, so I can barely move forward without twitching out. And everything I have is just kinda bad, isn't it? I also have to play with a controller just because of the twitching, so I mean, where did it all go wrong? Hey, either way, I know y'all don't want to hear me complain. Also, just in general, I plan for this to be a better video, like scripting-wise in a way, and just editing, just all in general. My last video was very directionless. I didn't really try that much at all, I'll be honest, and honestly, I just wanted to get it over with. But now, I know exactly what I plan on doing, at least for the meantime. As you've read, this video is simply about Spy's Backstab. So this video is intended to educate the new spy player wanting to try to get better at the class, a spy who has just picked up their knife and is ready to get stabbing. So enough stalling, let me get right into the video. But before we start this video is sponsored by... Nah, just kidding. You really think I'm getting a sponsorship at literally 0 subscribers at the moment? Either way, moving on, I explained in my last video about the fundamentals of Spy. And Spy's biggest fundamental was that Spy has a knife that can deal a one-shot if a backstab is performed. Now at the end of the day, that's all there is to it. You try to get behind the enemy team so you can sneak up on players and get that cheeky backstab. But there is logic behind it, and ways to improve upon it. So to improve upon your backstabbing knowledge, let's get to the real basics. Spy is centered around his knife/melee, which does a base of 40 damage, which is right after Scout as weakest stock melee. It takes 0.8 seconds to swing his knife, which is the base speed for every melee, except Scout, who swings every 0.5 seconds. Now, as I've stated, if you go behind an enemy player, you will do a backstab. A backstab will always do 6 times the enemy health, or 200% of their active health. So no matter the condition, a backstab will always be able to one-shot a player. But when do you backstab, is the thing. You see, every time you're about to engage in a backstab, an animation plays, which is Spy raising his knife to get ready for a backstab, indicating that you can in fact perform a backstab. A thing to keep in mind is that the back in backstab is a very loose term, as I've stated in my previous video. What TF2 means as a back is really the back half of a player's hitbox. Now, I don't know all the specs to it since the animation can load at certain directions you're looking at, but a couple degrees away it doesn't and stuff like that. But the point you need to remember is that it's easy to get some of these backstabs. One thing I can at least confirm is that this hitbox does stretch off the character model. Plus, with player turning, stretching around the hitbox, you might end up getting kills that are straight from the side of a player, or sometimes it even looks like they were looking straight at you and you got the kill. But don't take this as an excuse to make more risk as Spy, because you get very inconsistent results. It's just something to really keep in the back of your mind, since if you were in melee distance and you were already going to engage in an attack, or the enemy team already sees you, I mean, there's just a chance you might get a ridiculous backstab. But still, always aim for the back, or at least what you see as the back of a player. Really just know that if the backstabbing animation loads, you can perform a backstab. So let's see, we know that when about to engage in a backstab, an animation loads, meaning that you can perform a backstab, and that this backstab can happen in ridiculous places, since the hitbox that loads the animation is bigger than the actual back of the enemy player. Now take notes, because a skill you'll have to improve upon is knowing when you're in proper range for this animation to load. The animation loads approximately 40 hammer units behind the enemy player, which is basically just right behind them. So of course, to condense in the backstab, you need to know when you can perform one, time-wise. This is really just a skill you'll gain naturally by playing Spy. There will be a point where you have such a good feel for this animation loading, you'll barely even play it. If you do really want to improve on this skill and you're having trouble, maybe practice on TR_walkway. You'll get a good feel with those walking blocks. So adding on to what we know that the skill you need to improve on is getting the feel for when the animation plays exactly. But now one thing we should talk about is situation. Now what do I mean by situation exactly? Well, you need to know when is a good time to engage in a backstab. As Spy, you really have to think about your enemy more than any other class. What they're doing, how long it's taking, what are they going to do next, and how focused they are. Stuff like that you always have to keep in mind, because one wrong move and you're dead. One thing to explain is that Spy is weak. considered one of the weakest classes in the game, or the weakest really. This is really due to the fact that Spy can easily be countered. The fact that Spy has to be up and personal with the enemy team to be effective really just makes him vulnerable in general, or by principle. So if you get caught out, about to perform a backstab, they can just turn around and kill you instantly since you're at such a close range. There's actually a community term called Spy Syndrome, where you always get a backstab, but right after you perform it, you die instantly, over and over, every life. So really, when you're in Spy Syndrome, just nothing's that consistent. You just get, well, I mean, in a way it is. You get a backstab and you die. That's it. Just have to wait to respawn and do it over again. Plus, a simple thing called communication keys, which isn't used that much in casual servers these days, but there's even a dialogue portion just to call Spy. Spy is weak, so knowing when the situation is good to perform a backstab is a necessity. So this is your next skill you need to develop, getting situational awareness, knowing when to strike. And let me create an example. That's a good way to learn things. So imagine this. You're pretty far behind the enemy team's backline, maybe somewhere close to their spawn. You see a soldier walking forward towards the front line, where all the action is. Is this a good time to strike? No. Well, yes. I mean, it kind of depends. Okay, maybe this isn't a good example. Let me explain. You see, most players soon learn to turn around once in a while to check for spies. So if you notice that the player isn't turning around often, it would probably be a good time to strike. But if they seem paranoid or just wanting to engage in some kind of action, then wait for another time or just pick another target. But typically the answer would just be no, this is not a good time to strike. Okay, let me set up a situation with a more direct answer. You're right behind the enemy team, which they are up at the front line defending. You see a heavy shredding away the enemy team. Is this a good time to strike? Yes, it would be, since the heavy is already occupied. He's busy defending and being attacked by your teammates, so he doesn't have much time to turn around and check for spies. So he will be distracted while you come up for a backstab. Now think about this. You backstab the heavy and a demo is in front of him. It seems distracting, but you still need to walk a couple steps to get a backstab. But the medic comes running. You will go no further! Is this a good time to strike the demo? No, since the medic will surely catch up with you. Even landing just a single hit could get the demo's attention. And the medic can start calling out Spy, alerting the whole team, including the demo. So you should just cloak and try to escape. Now this is adding a bit on situational awareness. And actually, I should have probably stated this a bit earlier. But you can't backstab while cloaked. So there will always be some time where you're visible to the enemy team. Of course not fully visible, you do have your disguise kit, but the longer you're exposed, the more likely it is for you to get caught out. So the dream is that you find a good area to uncloak where nobody suspects that you would uncloak there, and that you're close enough to the enemy team so you don't have to walk too far to get in a backstab. So keep in mind, uncloak relatively close to the enemy that you have targeted. Now one thing to also state is that Spy runs at 107% walking speed, which is tied as the second fastest class in the game for walking speed. You're only tied with Medic, and Scout outruns you at 133% walking speed. Now right behind you at third fastest class is Sniper, and Pyro, so you can catch up to them. Demo, Soldier, and Heavy, you can all easily catch up to. But what about the classes that outrun you? Well, to begin with, as I said, Scout is the only class faster than you, and Medic walks as fast as you. But this is still good knowledge against any class. But classes walk slower backpedaling, so you could be walking past them, then do a quick turnaround to get it back to them. Or even in more drawn-out cases, you could do a bit of a chase and then just turn around to get a stab. Or even in general, they're distracted and they start to backpedal, so you go up to get the stab while they're slower than usual. Which this is still helpful for any class that backpedals. So just to add on to everything else, Spy has 125 health, the weakest health pool in the game. Spy is considered a light class for this reason, with Scout, Sniper, and NG, since they all have 125 health. And now you know the fundamentals of Spy's backstab. Now remember, those are just the fundamentals. There's still some stuff I didn't cover, mainly since those topics could cover a whole video like trick stabs. But that should be a good basis on where to start off as Spy. But get to the battlefield. There's only one way to get better, and that's by practice. So thanks for watching, and I hope I can see y'all next time.